There comes a moment when pretending stops working. You may have tried to label what you feel as attraction, coincidence, chemistry, or timing, anything that allows the mind to stay in control. You told yourself it would fade, that distance would quiet it, that logic could dissolve it. And yet, something remains, a persistent awareness, a pull that does not respond to reasoning. The real struggle is not confusion, it is recognition. You feel something deeply real, and that truth unsettles the parts of you that were taught to dismiss intuition, emotion, and soul-level knowing. When something refuses to disappear, no matter how much you rationalize it away, denial becomes exhausting. In today's message, we are going to name what has been quietly happening beneath the surface of your thoughts. This video is not about chasing feelings or romantic fantasy. It is about understanding why this inner tension exists at all, why the mind resists while the soul remains steady. We will explore the moment when awareness begins to break through avoidance, especially for the divine masculine energy that has been taught to run from emotional truth rather than toward it. What you are experiencing is not chaos, weakness, or loss of control. It is an internal awakening trying to emerge without permission. By the end of this video, something will shift, not dramatically, not loudly, but unmistakably. You will begin to see that this invisible storm is not here to disrupt your life, but to realign it. When truth can no longer be ignored, it does not demand action, it demands honesty. This is the turning point where running stops, not because you are forced to face something, but because there is nowhere left to hide from what you already know. Stay with this message until the end, because what unfolds next is not about pursuit, it is about inner recognition. And once that door opens, it cannot be closed again. Section 1. Resistance, his first shield. From the very first instant his soul recognized you, something ancient stirred within him, something older than logic, older than reason, older than the life he thought he was living. It was not attraction in the ordinary sense, nor curiosity, nor desire alone. It was a deep internal pull, a current that moved through him without asking permission, a knowing that arrived before thought could organize itself into words. And because it could not be explained, controlled, or dismissed, it unsettled him. Rather than surrender to what he felt, he instinctively reached for resistance. Resistance became his first shield, the familiar armor the masculine often wears when destiny steps too close. He told himself stories that made the experience smaller and safer. He labeled the connection as coincidence, chemistry, or simple physical intrigue. By reducing the soul-level recognition to the body, he believed he could contain it. The body felt manageable. The soul did not. Depth felt dangerous to him. Intensity felt like a threat rather than a gift. To feel this deeply meant risk of loss, risk of vulnerability, risk of being changed in ways he could not reverse. Somewhere within him lived an old memory that closeness leads to pain, that surrender leads to loss of control. And so, instead of leaning in, he pulled back. Instead of listening, he explained. Instead of opening, he armored himself. So he ran, not always with his feet, but with his mind. He ran into productivity, into responsibility, into noise. He filled his days with work, obligations, routines, and constant movement. He stayed busy enough that there was no quiet space left for your presence to rise fully into awareness. Silence was dangerous because silence made you louder. Stillness threatened to reveal what distraction worked so hard to bury. Yet resistance is not freedom. It never has been. It is weight disguised as protection. It is a cage built from avoidance, reinforced by fear, and justified by reason. Every time he denied what he felt, the bond did not weaken, it tightened. Every time he distracted himself, the silence grew sharper. The more he tried to escape the feeling, the more it followed him, not as longing, but as pressure. He believed he was protecting himself from heartbreak. In truth, He was protecting himself from being seen. Because to be seen by you meant exposure. It meant standing without armor. It meant allowing someone to witness the parts of him he had learned to hide: his tenderness, his longing, his unhealed wounds, his capacity to feel far more than he ever admitted to himself. Resistance gave him the illusion of safety, but it also kept him confined within a version of himself that was no longer true. And the truth about twin flame connection is this: no mask works for long. No distance truly holds. No distraction is strong enough to erase recognition at the soul level. What is denied does not disappear, it waits, it presses, it returns, again and again, until it can no longer be ignored. Eventually, resistance begins to crack. The armor grows heavy. The strategies stop working. The mind grows tired of explaining away what the soul already knows. And when that first shield starts to fracture, it is not because he is weak, it is because the truth is stronger than fear. Before we move forward, take a moment to pause with what you've just felt. Resistance is not a flaw, it is a signal. It shows us where something true is pressing against old protection, where the soul is asking to be acknowledged even as the mind pulls away. If any part of this section stirred recognition in you, allow yourself to sit with it. Reflect on where resistance has shown up in your own journey, whether as overthinking, distraction, emotional distance, or the need to stay in control. You're not alone in this pattern, and awareness is where the shift begins. If you feel called, leave a comment and share what resonated most for you, or simply type, "I allow truth to soften my defenses." This small act of acknowledgement opens the door to what comes next. Section 2. The moment of cracking. There comes a moment when avoidance can no longer carry him forward. The familiar strategies begin to fail. Distraction loses its grip. Distance no longer provides relief. What once worked to quiet the inner noise now feels thin and ineffective, like walls made of paper against a rising tide. He realizes, often without consciously admitting it, that there is nowhere left to run. You remain. Not in form or proximity, but in energy, in presence, in resonance. You exist in the space beneath thought, where logic has no authority. He carries you the way a room carries the trace of a fragrance long after someone has left, unseen, undeniable, impossible to ignore. No matter how far he goes, something of you moves with him. This is when the world begins to speak differently. Songs find him at precise moments, their lyrics landing with unsettling accuracy, as though written for his private inner life. Lines he has heard 100 times suddenly feel personal, intimate, exposed. Memories rise without invitation, glances, silences. Moments he thought were insignificant now illuminated with meaning. They surface not to torment him, but to be acknowledged. What he once dismissed as coincidence begins to rearrange itself into pattern. The randomness he relied on to maintain distance no longer convinces him. There is a quiet intelligence at work, a sense of alignment that cannot be forced or denied. The illusion of control weakens. The ego, accustomed to command and certainty, begins to tremble under the weight of a truth it cannot outrun. This is the cracking. Not loud, not dramatic, not destructive. It is subtle, internal, and deeply personal. A soft unraveling of defenses that were never strong enough to contain a connection that was never rooted in the physical to begin with. The walls fall not because they are attacked, but because they were built for the wrong purpose. This cracking is not chaos, it is clarity, a moment of honest seeing, a recognition that what he is feeling cannot be managed, categorized, or escaped. Love reveals itself not as possession or proximity, but as presence that persists beyond choice. And in this moment, separation stops being something he decides. Recognition begins. Section 3. 7 subtle signs of recognition. Recognition never announces itself with words. It arrives first through energy, quietly, persistently, unmistakably. Before the mind can explain what is happening, something deeper has already begun to respond. This recognition does not rush. It unfolds in layers, revealing itself through subtle but undeniable signs that bypass logic and speak directly to the soul. The first sign appears in his eyes. When your gaze meets his, something inside him drops. The constant vigilance softens. The internal guard he did not even realize he was holding begins to lower. In that brief exchange, the soul sees what the mind has been hiding from. There is no need for explanation in this moment. Something ancient recognizes itself, and no amount of reasoning can undo it. The second sign reveals itself through silence. Not an empty silence, but a full one. A silence thick with emotion, meaning, and restraint. Words feel insufficient, even dangerous. What he feels is too large to be spoken safely, so it lingers between you instead. This silence is not avoidance, it is containment, a pause where truth gathers weight. The third sign emerges energetically, beyond physical presence. His energy begins to reach you in subtle, intimate ways, through dreams that feel shared rather than imagined, through emotional waves that arrive without warning, through sudden thoughts that do not feel like your own. Distance loses relevance here. The connection operates outside time, space, and intention. The fourth sign lives in the body. His body remembers before his mind accepts. Sleep becomes restless. His nervous system reacts without clear cause. A tightness in the chest, a sudden ache of longing. Your name becomes a pulse, echoing softly but insistently inside him. This is not desire alone. It is recognition stored in the nervous system. The fifth sign appears in the external world. Reality begins to mirror what he has not yet admitted internally. Repeating numbers catch his attention. Songs surface at exact moments, carrying messages too precise to dismiss. Synchronicities cluster together, no longer feeling random, but arranged. The universe reflects back what he is trying not to see. The sixth sign takes shape through comparison. No matter who enters his life, something is missing. No one reaches him the way you do. No substitute fits the shape your energy occupies. The mind attempts replacement, but the soul refuses compromise. Recognition clarifies contrast, making everything else feel incomplete. The seventh sign is softening, not dramatic, not sudden, but steady. Resistance loosens its grip. Defensiveness fades. The heart begins to open not because it is forced, but because it no longer has the strength to remain closed. This is the quiet surrender that signals true recognition. When these signs emerge, recognition is no longer approaching. It has already arrived, unresolved. And yet, one ordinary evening, he finds himself paused at a red light, a song playing softly through the speakers. He has heard it many times before, but this time the lyrics land differently, as if they are speaking directly to something inside his chest. Without warning, his breath catches. Your presence moves through him not as a memory he chooses, but as a feeling that arrives on its own. Later that night, sleep refuses to settle. He dreams of you, not in dramatic scenes, but in simple moments, walking, laughing, existing together in a way that feels more real than waking life. The next day, he notices repeating numbers on clocks and receipts, small signs he would normally ignore, now impossible to dismiss. He reaches for his phone, stops, and sits in the silence instead. In that pause, he understands something without needing words. He cannot replace what was never created by circumstance. He cannot outrun what his soul already knows. This is recognition made visible not through confession or reunion, but through the quiet, undeniable shift of a heart that has begun to remember. Section 4. How his body confesses what his mind denies. The masculine believes that logic should lead, that reason should chart the course and keep the heart in check. He has been taught to trust what can be explained, measured, justified, Yet the twin flame bond does not wait for permission from the mind. It bypasses thought entirely and speaks through the body first, in sensations that cannot be argued away or silenced by willpower. Restlessness becomes the first confession. His body refuses stillness. Sleep feels shallow. Focus slips through his fingers. There is a subtle but persistent agitation, as if something unfinished is moving beneath the surface of his life. His heart begins to beat differently when he thinks of you, not faster in excitement, but heavier, fuller, charged with meaning. There is a tightness in his chest or throat that does not feel like anxiety. It feels like memory, like recognition, like something ancient stirring awake. Emotion follows, often without warning or explanation. Tears arrive unexpectedly, catching him off guard in moments when he believed himself composed. A song on the radio suddenly reaches inside him and pulls something loose. A familiar melody carries your energy, and grief rises not only for you, but for what he avoided, denied, or postponed. He mourns timelines he tried not to imagine, choices he told himself did not matter. This grief is not weakness. It is truth surfacing through the only doorway still open. Then desire emerges, but not in the way he understands desire. This is not lust, not hunger for the body alone. It is recognition, a longing for closeness that goes beyond touch, beyond physical presence. He yearns for the feeling of being known without explanation, for a union that exists beyond form, labels, or circumstances. His body remembers what his mind is still trying to resist. Dreams become the meeting place. In sleep, his defenses fall away. There, he speaks what he cannot yet say aloud. There, he reaches without fear, meets you without hesitation. These are not fantasies created by longing. They are encounters of the soul, meetings beyond time, where truth does not need language. The connection continues where the conscious mind cannot yet follow. Once the body begins to speak this clearly, the mind can no longer lie. Denial loses its grip. Logic starts to fracture under the weight of lived experience. The body has already confessed what the soul knows, and soon, the mind will have no choice but to listen. Section 5. Dreams and Synchronicities. When logic fails, the universe changes its language. Dreams arrive vivid and real. Symbols repeat. Timing becomes precise. Names appear. Numbers follow. Songs echo shared memory. These are not hallucinations of longing. They are coordinates, breadcrumbs guiding him back to what his soul already remembers. The feminine feels it too. Dreams mirror, signs synchronize, two souls moving within the same field. This is mutual recognition, a shared awakening across dimensions. Section 5. Dreams and Synchronicities. When logic fails, the universe does not fall silent. It simply changes its language. What the mind refuses to acknowledge, life itself begins to translate through pattern, symbol, and timing so precise it can no longer be dismissed as coincidence. Dreams arrive first, vivid and unsettling in their clarity. They feel less like imagination and more like visitation. He wakes with the emotional residue still clinging to him, as if the experience did not end when his eyes opened. Faces are clear, conversations linger. Symbols repeat themselves night after night, forming a private language his rational mind cannot decode but his soul immediately understands. These dreams do not drift or dissolve, they remain. Then the waking signs begin to follow. Timing sharpens. Moments align with an almost surgical precision. Names appear where they should not on screens, in passing conversations, in places he was not looking. Numbers repeat in steady rhythm, catching his attention again and again until ignoring them feels deliberate. Songs surface at the exact moment his thoughts wander toward you, lyrics echoing shared memory, shared emotion, shared truth. The universe begins to speak directly, without subtlety. These are not hallucinations born from longing or wishful thinking. They do not carry the chaos of fantasy. They carry structure. They arrive with order, repetition, and intent. They function as coordinates rather than comfort markers pointing him back towards something real. Breadcrumbs laid carefully across time and space, guiding him toward what his soul already remembers but his mind is still learning to accept. The feminine feels it too. This is not a one-sided experience. Dreams begin to mirror each other in theme, emotion, and intensity. Signs synchronize without communication. The same symbols appear in both worlds, as if reality itself is folding inward. There is a quiet knowing that passes between you, even in silence. Two inner landscapes shifting in tandem, responding to the same invisible current. This is not imagination. This is mutual recognition, a shared awakening that does not require proximity to be real. Two souls moving within the same energetic field, responding to the same call, guided by the same unseen intelligence. Across distance, across time, across dimensions, the message remains consistent. What is real cannot be lost, and what is remembered will eventually be returned. If you've made it this far, pause for a moment and breathe. Notice what stirred inside you as you listened. Notice what felt familiar, what resonated without needing explanation. This part of the journey isn't about proving anything, it's about recognizing yourself in the experience. Take a moment to reflect on the dreams, the signs, the quiet confirmations that have followed you here. If you feel called, share your story in the comments. Your words may be the mirror someone else has been waiting for. And if speaking feels like too much right now, simply type this affirmation below. I trust what my soul remembers. By doing so, you anchor the truth that led you here and you remind yourself that you are not alone on this path. Section 6. Triggers of recognition. Recognition never arrives softly, and it is rarely polite. It does not knock, ask permission, or wait for readiness. It arrives through rupture, through moments that break the illusion of control and force truth to the surface. This stage is not comfortable, but it is unmistakable. It is the moment when avoidance stops working and the soul begins to speak louder than strategy. The first trigger is fear. Not the fear of loving, but the deeper, more destabilizing fear of losing. Losing her presence, losing the connection, losing something he never fully claimed but somehow knows he cannot replace. This fear does not come from insecurity alone, it comes from recognition. The body understands the value of what the mind tried to minimize. And once that fear is activated, indifference is no longer possible. The second trigger is mirror pain. Her emotions begin to move through him as if they belong to his own nervous system. When she hurts, he feels unrest he cannot explain. When she pulls back, something inside him tightens. Distance, which he once believed would protect him, begins to do the opposite. It amplifies the bond. Silence becomes louder than words. Space becomes a mirror rather than a shield. What he avoided feeling now finds him without invitation. The third trigger is collapse. The structures he built to stay distracted, work, routine, validation, temporary pleasure start to fail. They no longer soothe, they no longer satisfy. The life designed to avoid depth begins to dissolve from the inside. This collapse is not punishment. It is exposure. It reveals what was hollow and what was real. And in that unraveling, the truth becomes impossible to outrun. Then comes the final and most powerful trigger, the rise of the divine feminine. Not through pursuit, not through pleading, not through explanation, but through stillness and self-choice. When she stops chasing, when she turns inward, when she chooses her own wholeness and stands sovereign in her worth, this shift sends a shock through the bond. It awakens him more deeply than any effort ever could, because her self-recognition becomes the mirror that forces his own. This is how recognition happens, not through words, but through transformation. Not through control, but through truth. Section 7. The Feminine's Sacred Role. This phase is not about pursuit, effort, or persuasion. It is about embodiment. It is the moment when the feminine stops trying to be understood and instead becomes fully anchored in who she is. Nothing is chased. Nothing is forced. Truth no longer needs motion to exist. Here, the feminine becomes the lighthouse. She does not scan the horizon in anxiety, nor does she signal frantically to be seen. She is anchored, steady, rooted in her own center. Silence no longer unsettles her because she is no longer waiting to be chosen. She has already chosen herself, and that choice changes the entire energetic field. When she stops seeking proof, she becomes proof. Not through explanation, but through presence. Her calm carries certainty. Her stillness carries authority. There is nothing to convince, nothing to defend, nothing to justify. The nervous system settles, the heart stabilizes. Alignment replaces longing. When she stops needing reassurance, she becomes reassurance. Her energy no longer asks questions, it answers them, not verbally, but vibrationally. Her boundaries soften without weakening. Her openness deepens without self-abandonment. She is available without reaching, whole without performance. Her presence now speaks louder than effort ever could. Words are no longer required. Gestures are no longer necessary. The clarity of her alignment becomes the invitation itself. It is felt, not analyzed. Recognized, not debated. What once required movement now responds to stillness. She does not pull. She does not chase. She does not persuade. She rises. And in her rise, something irreversible occurs. Recognition locks into place not because she demanded it, but because her embodiment made it undeniable. The truth stabilizes. The mirror clears. And what could once be avoided can no longer be unseen. Section 8. Destiny Turns. A threshold is crossed quietly. A knowing replaces doubt. What once felt overwhelming becomes undeniable. He remembers her not as fantasy, but as mirror. Life begins to reorganize. Old paths lose meaning. Truth sharpens. Union is no longer something to chase. It is something already written. The question is no longer if, only when. Section 8. Destiny Turns. A threshold is crossed quietly, almost without ceremony. There is no dramatic announcement, no external proof to point to. And yet, everything changes. The internal struggle softens. The resistance dissolves. A deep knowing settles in where doubt once lived. What was once questioned no longer needs to be examined. It is simply understood. What once felt overwhelming now becomes undeniable. The intensity he tried to outrun no longer feels chaotic or confusing. It feels precise, familiar. He remembers her not as a fantasy created by longing, but as a mirror that revealed him to himself. Not an escape from life, but a reflection of truth he could no longer ignore. The connection stops feeling like something that happened to him and begins to feel like something that always was. As this recognition stabilizes, life begins to reorganize around it. Old paths quietly lose their meaning. Choices that once felt logical now feel hollow. Relationships, habits, and ambitions that were built on avoidance begin to fall away without resistance. This is not destruction, it is alignment. Truth sharpens, priorities clarify. The noise thins, and what remains feels essential. Union is no longer something to chase, analyze, or control. It no longer lives in anxiety or imagination. It is sensed as something already written, already in motion, already unfolding beyond effort. The urgency disappears because certainty replaces it. The soul understands what the mind once feared to trust. At this stage, the question is no longer if. There is no longer room for denial or negotiation. The only question that remains is when. And even that question carries patience rather than desperation. Because destiny, once recognized, does not rush. It arrives exactly when the inner alignment is complete. Do not fear the silence that surrounds this moment. Silence is not emptiness. It is the sacred chamber where recognition settles into the bones of the soul. It is where what was once confusing becomes undeniable, where truth no longer needs words to exist. And do not doubt the delay you have been walking through. Delay is not rejection, punishment, or loss. It is alignment in disguise, timing refining itself until both souls are ready to stand in truth without distortion. Once the soul remembers, it cannot forget. Once something real cracks open inside you, it cannot be forced back into denial. You may question the process, but you cannot erase the knowing. That is because you are not reaching an ending, you are standing at a threshold. A passage, a quiet turning point where what was invisible begins to move. True union does not begin when bodies meet. It begins when truth is shared between souls, when resistance softens, when masks fall away, when the inner yes becomes louder than fear. What is written into the blueprint of two souls does not unravel with time or distance. It remembers, it recalibrates, and when the moment is right, it returns and reunites, not through force, but through inevitability. If your heart recognizes this truth, anchor it now. Leave a comment and type the words, "Union is already unfolding beneath the surface." Let that declaration ground what your soul already knows. Your voice matters here. Your recognition activates the path. If this message stirred something within you, like the video to honor that awakening, share it with someone who may be questioning the silence or doubting the timing. And when you are ready, continue this journey by watching the next teaching below, because this story is still unfolding. Your path is not behind you. It is opening now. And the universe is already guiding you both home.